whenever people just want something to be true, like they really badly want it to be true, facts no longer matter. Evidence no longer matters. And that's true with, like, let's say, like religion. Um, you know, yeah, it's just faith, right? You can just do this thing where you don't have to provide evidence or facts. It's just faith. And so it is with this current movement on black folks who just want to believe that they are not products of the transatlantic slave trade. So we're no longer arguing facts because, again, all the scholarship is there. Everything becomes a lot of, well, maybes, and let me try to poke a hole in this mountain of evidence. And so at the core, my problem is people will walk by a mountain of evidence to reach for a grain of sand of maybe. And that's just not a logical position. So in the first place, let's be clear, there are so many moving currents, it's hard to kind of get a handle on it. And so the people who say, for example, well, is it possible that Africans could have come here? Please understand, you're now making a very different argument than from the people who are saying we are indigenous. That is, we did not come from Africa at all, right? That is a completely separate argument. So which, you know what I mean? Like, who are you arguing with? Like, which camp are you arguing with? That becomes very challenging to keep up with who you're arguing with. So then the other camp, is like, well, could we have been here? Like, we came from Africa, like we explored before Columbus, right? And the thing becomes, please hear my position. My position has always been, I'm very open to, I have no problem with the idea that maybe. Now, having said that, I also want to be clear, we can't just do blind faith. There's actually no evidence that happened. We have evidence that the Vikings came before Columbus. There's actual evidence, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it couldn't have happened, but let's be clear, we don't have that smoking gun. And so I'm not going to present as if we do. Now, having said that, back to when people just want something to be true. When you just want something to be true, we just suspend critical thinking. If Africans explored specifically the United States of America before Columbus, what we do know is they certainly didn't keep doing it after Columbus. So, okay, so there's a very limited window for that to happen. And if that happened, we have to think, okay, critically, who would have come? Well, certainly not millions of people. It would have been a relatively small number of explorers, and these would be men. Okay, well, what would have happened to those men? They either would have died because they got killed by natives or just died, or they would have had to procreate and marry indigenous women who were here, because they couldn't just exist as an African tribe. You know what I mean? Like, these are men. They're going to die out. They have to procreate. If they're merging and marrying indigenous women, they're going to become one with those people. Because again, after 1492, we definitely ain't got no African ships coming. So we're talking about hundreds of years of merging with that. At that point, they're just with them. They're no longer existing as an independent black nation, y'all. So they're going to be with them. What would happen to them? Well, we know what happened to natives. They were wiped out or moved out. So again, the question is, where did you come from? Where did you come from? And there's no way, if some African explorers came in 1450 or even 1400 or 1320, you don't descend from them. Sorry. You are a product of the transatlantic slave trade. And I think that may hurt your feelings. That yes, our story is a transatlantic slave trade and a lot of rapes by Europeans. That is why your DNA is overwhelmingly West African and European. The end. But if you just want something to be true, you come up with every caveat and maybe, like, the amount of conspiracies that need to be true for these people to hold to whatever they're trying to hold to, it's exhausting. The amount of maybes or like, there's a mountain of very solid established evidence. Just go with that. All the maybes and now DNA has to be the new conspiracy that magically everyone in the world, we can determine where they're from. But these Negroes, that's the one population DNA just don't, like, okay, actual geneticists aren't confused. You are, right? So no, I don't have any problem with the idea that Africans could have explored the West. We don't have the evidence, but I am certainly open to it. Did you come from those people? No.